This is the Bad Batch podcast on TV Podcast Industries, and we're talking about the Bad Batch, Season 2, Episode 13, Pabu.
My analysis indicates that this so-called artifact you recovered is of very little to no monetary value.
Treasure can mean many things. Most of the villagers on Pabu are refugees. Many of the items I recover are remnants of their cultures, and that's worth preserving. After all, I am a liberator
of ancient wonders. About time you showed your face around here.
Miss me, Shep?
You got some competition.
Welcome back, fellow Batchers, to TV Podcast Industries. We are the Bad Batch podcast, and we're talking about episode 13 of season 2, Pabu. I am one of your vacationing hosts, John.
Kind of fancy a vacation right now. I'm your other host for this episode, Derek. I would love to be visiting Pabu. It looks gorgeous. Maybe not in tsunami season.
No. But it did look lovely, Pabu.
Did.
Certainly better than Sid's bar.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely, yes.
Most definitely. But before we get into our spoiler-filled review, please head on over to any good or evil, or dare I say it, Jedi or Sith podcast catcher of your choice and check out TV Podcast Industries. Or you can check out the Bad Batch stream as well. To just get that stream if you want to. You can also head on over to our website at tvpodcastindustries.com, where you can also catch the podcast.
Yeah, all of our podcasts are available over there as well. Yeah, we'd also love to hear your thoughts about the Bad Batch. Only 2 more weeks to go of the Bad Batch. We got 1 episode next week and then the big finale with 2 episodes the week after that. So we'd love to hear what you've been thinking about the Bad Batch. Just email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or pop on over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/tvpodcastindustries to share your thoughts.
Yes. Chris isn't with us this time. He is vacationing in a small island. Let's hope he survives the sea.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Yes.
He's not vacationing at all.
No, he's not. He's not at all. He just can't make it.
We're just doing a lot of podcasts at the moment, so he can't make it for this one.
But let us get into our spoiler-filled discussion of episode 13 of The Bad Batch, Pabu. Derek, what are some of the episode details?
Well, the executive producers for the show, of course, are Dave Filoni, Brad Rao, and Jennifer Corbett. This episode was written by Amanda Rose Munoz and directed by Stuart Lee, with story editor Matt Miknevitz. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for The Bad Batch 213 Pabu?
Sure. The Bad Batch and Omega help the liberator of antiquities, Phee Genoa, recover a lost artefact from the criminal Lanse Crowder and his henchmen. Crowder tries to kill Phee and keep the artefact and the money, but with the help of the Bad Batch, they escape. On the Marauder, Phee learns that the Bad Batch have severed ties with Sid when a transmission comes through from Sid warning Hunter, Wrecker and Tech that their mutually beneficial arrangement is at stake, and reminding them what she knows about their past. With no base to return to, Phee convinces the clones to accompany her to the peaceful island of Pabu, her home from home. At Pabu, they discover the Archiam, where Phee has been bringing the lost artifacts to safety from treasure hunters and dealers. On the island, the Bad Batch are hosted by Mayor Shep Hazard and his daughter Lyana, who befriends Omega as they head onto the water on Lyana's boat. However, the rest, the good food and relaxation they are beginning to discover on the apparent island paradise is interrupted by a series of tremors as a wave surge heads towards Lower Pabu. Hunter heads out on the Marauder and manages to rescue Omega and Lyana from the tsunami just in time, while Tech and Wrecker help Phee and Shep to evacuate the population of Lower Pabu to safety before the destructive wave hits and floods the lower city. Following the tsunami, the Bad Batch happily agree to stay on and help rebuild Pabu.
We wonder what Pabu meant last week. I had no idea, and of course, it's a planet.
It's a
place.
place.
Yeah, it's a place. Yeah,
it's a city on an island. Yes.
In an ocean.
Yes. Far, far away.
Exactly. So we couldn't have guessed what it was last week until we watched the episode, basically.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But even though blasters would never have been heard on Pabu before, let us get into our top blaster points for the episode. First off, blaster point number 1. Yes, it's Phee, the liberator of ancient wonders.
Yeah, we hear a lot of blaster points at the beginning of the episode, John.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, the Bad Batch on this mission with Phee. I really liked the setup of this. I really thought it was cool having Phee sitting at a table with Omega beside her, doing the trade with these masked villains, effectively, who are trying to trade a really precious item to her. Feels a little Indiana Jonesy, but as you kind of look around the room, you can see Hunter's there as well, and the reveal that Rekka's there as well to protect Phee. Loads of support there in the background. I kind of love how it all played out here.
Well, absolutely. And it's not even that the artifact is valuable. It's valuable from a cultural or sentimental point of view as well, because you hear Tech going, this is really not very valuable. In a sense, we've almost risked our lives for this. But, and this is part of the other point is I think in this episode, this really feels like, we've caught up with Phee on a few occasions, once where she was just in Sid's bar, one on a previous mission to the massive ancient pre-Old Republic kind of mechanical hillside dinosaur.
Okay, yeah.
But
pretty good description. Yeah,
yeah, kind of. But this is where we really find out more about her, and actually that in a sense she's been developing a soft spot for certainly Omega, but also with the Bad Batch throughout this episode. So I really like the setup because first off, the mission is successful.
Yes.
In the sense that they recover the artifact and the money back, which is what Crowder was going to effectively do back to them by doing a surprise kill on Phee. So, I mean, actually, it wasn't just that he was trying to double cross her, but he was going to kill her. I mean, firstly, by trying to poison her and then sending a poisonous kind of centipede type creature, which gets knifed by Hunter, showing his knife skills again, which we haven't seen much of either.
That's true.
That was his weapon of choice, effectively. Yeah. So I really like that.
Yeah, and we also see his abilities as well this time. We only saw them once, I think, this season, but this idea that Hunter has this kind of extra sensory ability to pick up threats that other people may not be able to. He's able to pick up this bug that's coming behind Phee before anybody else does. So I like seeing that. Everybody kind of gets their abilities shown here. Wrecker obviously being this big tank fighter and beater up of people. That's pretty easy to show on screen. Hunter's ability hasn't been shown that much in the past, but Tech being able to assess all the threats is shown at the beginning of the episode as well, and throughout. That's his kind of function. So
yeah, absolutely. We also get to hear Phee describing herself as this liberator of ancient wonders, which gets revealed even further once they get to Pabu, whilst also trying to teach Omega that fine art of negotiation, as she says. So, I thought this was really kind of good. Bad Batch managed to escape, and they're back on the Marauder, but this is effectively where we get, absolute confirmation that they have severed ties with Sid. They effectively have nowhere really to go.
Yeah, exactly. They went on that final mission to recover some items, and turned out it was the Zillo beast was on the planet that they went to. That's the last time they were in contact with Sid. We see the holo with Sid, where she's saying, sending out a message to them saying it's been 20 rotations, they better be dead, because she's lost out on a lot of jobs because they haven't been there. And don't forget how much knowledge she has about the Bad Batch. I also like the way she sinisterly ends that message to them, saying, and don't believe I'm just threatening you here, as in I will carry through with the threat that I can carry through on.
Which is, she knows their past.
Exactly. So you can reveal who they are to anybody that could be looking for them, which is really interesting, given that we had kind of been expecting from Sid that she was, she was cranky and she was hard to work for, but you didn't expect that she was massively sinister until earlier on this season when a former colleague of hers revealed, don't trust her. And you hear something similar here from Phee. You know, she's a good person to have on your side, but if you cross her, very dangerous for you, you know?
Exactly. So with that, Phee offers that the Bad Batch come along with her to another place, which I guess brings us on to Blaster Point number 2.
Mm-hmm.
This Blaster Point is the Bad Batch do actually experience a mutually beneficial arrangement in this case.
Yeah.
First off, great location, good weather, beautiful sea breeze and air, you know, lovely sea views wherever you want them, but also at least the leader of Pabu, which is Mayor Shep Hazard, an unfortunate surname. I think it's pronounced Hazard or something like that.
Okay.
But certainly, you know, given they seem to be suffering from tremors, then it's an ironic name for such a apparently idyllic island. But importantly, it doesn't really have any resources that the Empire would be sort of keen on or interested in. So they've not really been on the Empire's radar. I would say effectively they would fish, but a lot of the people there have been refugees.
Exactly.
They've arrived there from the previous Clone War, but also after that, since the Empire has developed, then people have arrived here as well. So at the moment, at least, it's not on the Empire's radar. So all the moment, you know, it is thumbs up here, I think, for the Bad Batch. I think as well, you know, you do hear Phee saying, well, Omega, she's good at the war stuff, you know, she's really developing, but she doesn't have friends of her own age. And here she does get introduced to Shep, who is the mayor of Pabu, her daughter, Lyana, and they get along. You know, you hear Tech saying how it's a long time since I've heard her laugh like that. You know, there's the Munoz that pique her interest, the little monkey-like creatures. So, you know, there's a lot here for Omega as well, as a, you know, possibly as a base. And again, I like the way, whilst Phee never says it, she's almost just pitching that possibility to them by everything that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just that the conversation they're having on Pabu. This conversation started earlier with Phee, where she's kind of saying, you know, Omega's really good, but all she's learning are the military techniques that you guys are teaching her. She needs to learn more than that. And I love the interjection from Tech there going like, what else could there possibly be to life other than learning these techniques, these military techniques? Because that's all they know as well. That's all Hunter and Wrecker and Tech know. Since then, they have been making their own way through everything. But Phee sees an opportunity here to introduce Omega to other things so she doesn't have to live the life that they lived, where they were cloned for a purpose of being part of an army. Omega doesn't have to have that purpose. So that's why Phee brings her here. I do think, though, that we hear from Lyana and Shep that Phee has never brought anybody here before. Yes. So I don't think it's just for the benefit of Omega. I think Phee is actually seeing more in the rest of the batch as well. She is genuinely saying that they are people that she trusts and people that she believes in, and she doesn't want them to be taken advantage of by Sid anymore. Yeah, I think she definitely has a soft spot for Tech. Yes, she does. Brown eyes.
Yeah, I think as well, it's just really nice that she says, you know, Shep will take you down. He does a great feast. You'll relax. It's good food. You'll have a good time and socialize. You know, it'll be a good bash. And she looks at Tech. Do you know what that is? Exactly. Kind of thing.
You're going to hate it, but it is going to be fun.
Yeah. She's kind of, she likes to kind of niggle at him a bit, but it's in a purely sort of, it's coming from a good place.
Yes.
And I think, that's what you see as well. I think that she sees the good in the batch and what they've done for Omega. And I think it's almost like as well, she's saying, and you can step up to, add more to her crossbow effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even when Shep says to Hunter, "This is a great place to bring up your daughter," Phee instantly looks at Hunter and says, maybe that's something else you need to think about, because she is thinking of Omega as Hunter's daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
Very much so. We've always said that they are the uncles and he's the father, really. So now he has to think about something other than just keeping her safe and alive. He has to also think about her development and how she will become in the future, how she will deal with other people in the future. I do like, though, as well, that Wrecker has noticed what's going on between Phee and Tech, and when Shep introduces himself, Wrecker kind of nudges Tech, going, "You got a little bit of a challenge there, possibly."
Yeah, exactly.
Someone else is vying for the attentions there of Phee,
Exactly. And speaking of Wrecker, there's even something for Wrecker on the island, which is loads and loads of food. I really kind of just giggled when he goes, "I'm full. I never get full." Too much food, and you have Tech saying, "Well, I'll put this down for posterity," and then Shep says, "You've got to make room for dessert," as he puts a massive bowl of fruit down.
Yeah.
And Wrecker just saying, "I just love this place.
I love this place." Yeah, absolutely.
So he's absolutely delighted with this place.
He loves it.
Which always then begs the question of, there must be
What's
a
coming
catch.
next, of
And
course.
you do feel when Hunter says there's something coming, I was half expecting sort of a Star Destroyer to come in overhead or something.
Yeah, I
Or,
was going.
or whatever it was going to be.
Sid has already told them, has given them the coordinates for the Marauder, or a way to find the Marauder, so they're going to be following them. Something like that is what I thought was going to happen, definitely. Before we move on to our last point, just one tiny little touch about the relationship between Tech and Phee that I really liked. I don't know why, it just struck me as a really nice moment that Phee does know exactly what Tech needs at all times. That kind of reassurance, or that extra bit of detail that other people wouldn't even care about, as everybody else gets taken off for their tour with Shep and Lyana. Phee is taking this item that they got to go and put it into this storage place, this museum.
The Archiam.
The Archiam, yes. Basically the museum of all of these items that belong to these people who are all separated from their homes. They're all refugees. It's something really kind that Phee does for the people that have been displaced. And as she walks off, she turns around to Tech, just saying, to confirm to him, "I'm just going to put this in a safe place where it needs to be. This is what I do for these people." And Tech is satisfied with that. It's almost like he's expecting there's going to be a catch here with this beautiful place that he's been brought to. Yeah. He's looking for, what's the problem here? What's the challenge here? And she just gives him that extra little bit of reassurance, just to say, "Don't worry, not going far, just going over here to do this, to finish off what I came here to do," basically. So, it's a really interesting idea, this idea of the displaced people after a war, the refugees and what happens to them, because you don't see them very often. You kind of think of, the rebels versus the Galactic Empire. You don't really think about what happens with the normal people. And here we're finding that all the way throughout the Clone Wars, loads of people were displaced from their planets, and this is a kind of sanctuary for them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So I like that little touch in the show.
But moving on to Blaster Point 3. Because, of course, the catch is that there are tremors and tsunamis. They are on the galaxy's ring of fire.
It seems like it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is that effectively, it's not a Star Destroyer coming into lower orbit. It's not a squadron of TIE interceptors. It is a tremor, and Hunter that's not the end of it. And then there's more tremors that go on for longer. And
again, seeing Hunter's abilities.
Exactly.
He instantly knows. Everybody else is waiting for the emergency system to kick in. He sees the Muños, the creatures who are native to the planet. He sees them moving before the first tremor. The tremor comes, and then he realizes they're not coming back. Maybe there's something else here. He's putting everything together before anybody else can. That this is going to be much worse than they all think.
And there is the disaster comedy moment as well when Shep says, "We should be all right. The huge alarm hasn't gone off yet." As then the alarm goes off and all chaos breaks out. I felt that was very almost Naked Gunny.
A little bit, yeah.
But it was, it was good. So yeah, absolute chaos ensues because Omega and Lyana have gone off on a boat together, just becoming friends, and they're out on the water. Plus, there is, the island is a very distinct shape, and when you see it from above, you realize why at one point there was no lower Pabu.
True.
It was, the city is right at the top because that's where the tsunamis won't hit.
Yes.
Can't reach.
Exactly.
So, you see that maybe it's been a long time since a tsunami has hit.
Yes, I think Shep says 30 years, 3 decades, I think he says.
Yeah.
So it's been a very, very long time since there's been anything like this to come and destroy Lower Pabu. But yes, as we said, one of the things that I particularly like about this episode is that we get the Batch using all of their abilities.
Yeah, exactly.
We have Wrecker being able to save people with his strength, being able to go round really quickly and gather everybody together. We have
certainly the old deaf guy who doesn't know what's happening, so he just gets lifted up and is then even more confused. So I like that, definitely.
Tech using his abilities as well. He's the one that determines that they need a quicker way to get everybody away from Lower Pabu, because if they're all rushing at the same time, we're not going to be able to save everybody, as he says, and finds that there's another option. There's the emergency ladders that'll get them all out of the area. So he's using his abilities of analytics, I guess, is what Tech does.
Yeah, and aided by Phee. She's the one that mentions the ladders.
Yeah.
And then they both grapple gun their way. Kind of romantic for Tech to be grappling Phee up the walls to rescue the day. Very
Star Wars, little Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia.
Absolutely.
When there could have possibly been a romantic connection.
Exactly. And Tech using his tech abilities as well. Say the ladders need to be loosened because they've rusted before they can be let down.
Yeah, exactly. And we already mentioned Hunter, obviously having the foresight to know that there's something bad is going to happen, but he also is the one that goes and saves Omega and Lyana from drowning.
Yeah, using the Marauder.
Yes, exactly.
I really liked actually when the engines fired up on the Marauder, because it was nighttime, because there is that moment where Phee goes to Tech, wait for it, and you're just wondering whether it's going to be a flock of birds of some description, or
a triple sunset,
triple sunset or something like that. But it's just all the lights turning on in Lower Pabu, and it looked really pretty. Again, another moment shared with Tech.
Yeah,
there, and of course, all that prettiness though is wiped off the face of Lower Pabu because it is hit by a massive wave surge and tsunami. So there's a lot of destruction here, but
everyone's safe though.
Everyone's safe. The Bad Batch, using their skills, get all the inhabitants safety at the top of the island, and are looking to use their skills to rebuild and help the inhabitants, and hopefully stay a little longer.
Well, exactly. I do like this. This really comes from Hunter and Tech. They're the ones that agree to it. I think if there's any option at all, Wrecker was going to stay, and Amiga's enjoying herself. She's found a friend. They're enjoying themselves in this place. But it's Hunter and Tech that kind of go, yeah, well, now that we can also be useful here and help them rebuild the place, now we'll stay, but only to rebuild the place. It's like, we're not going to set down roots here. Or at least we're not going to say that we're setting down roots here. We're going to say that we're here to help rebuild. So exactly what we wanted this group to do for such a long time is help people in the galaxy with the abilities that they have. And they found that here in Pabu.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing is, I wonder if Hunter does have, at the back of his mind, the fact that they did run from the clone army. They have been hunted and chased around the galaxy by the Proto-Empire with Crosshair. So, maybe given that they're saying, because he's the one that has that conversation with Shep about, well, what about the Empire? That he's just concerned they may draw too much attention.
Yeah, true. Yeah. That's got to be a concern that's in the back of the mind, especially from that threat from Sid earlier on as well. But I think he has realized, exactly as Phee said, that Omega needs more than just traveling around the galaxy and being in pretty much constant danger with these guys.
But if they can put a hinge on the top of that mountain, it's almost like Thunderbirds.
It could be.
For the Marauder.
It could be.
Exactly.
I like it. So yeah, overall, I think that's the main points of the episode. One tiny thing again, another line almost that I really liked, was in the conversation with Omega and Lyana. And Lyana's asking Omega, well, why did she leave her planet originally?
Yeah.
And literally Omega just says the Empire. Doesn't say anything more, nothing else, and instantly she's accepted by Lyana, because that's the story that pretty much everybody on this planet must have had at some point. Yeah. They're here because the Empire did X, or did fill in the blanks yourself. She knows Omega probably doesn't want to talk about details of that, but is just willing to accept her immediately.
Exactly.
I'm so sorry for you, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's really good.
Well, great. I think that's our blaster points. Derek, any notes at all?
Just one note, always keep an eye on the Bad Batch for the cast and people who are voicing the characters in the show, because you may find some little gems hidden in there. In this episode, the character of Lyana is played by Andy Allo, who is a singer-songwriter from the US, and also an actress. We know her from the TV show Upload on Prime Video. Great little half-hour comedy.
Absolutely.
Over on Amazon Prime. But also she was a member of Prince's New Power Generation band back in the early 2000s. I'm a massive Prince fan, so weirdly, the minute I saw her name, I was going, I think I've seen her play alongside Prince. So, yes, I was right. So, I'm delighted about that.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. Good stuff.
So, another interesting character actor.
Yeah. Always watch the credits.
Always watch the credits, exactly.
Absolutely. But Derek, your final thoughts on Bad Batch episode 13, Pabu?
Do you know, I really liked this episode. I've watched the episode twice now. And the first time I watched it, I was kind of going, okay, well, you know, it's not full of action and adventure apart from, you know, that closing piece of the episode. It is really the story that you kind of need for the Bad Batch after the second season. What are they doing? Where's their home? They keep saying the Marauders their home, but it can't really be. Where are they going to land, and what are they going to do with their abilities? So this episode actually gave you a lot of that in this episode that seemed to be just exploring a new planet. It's a bit quieter, it's a bit more fun, but I really liked what it's doing for the Bad Batch. There's only 3 more episodes of the season left, and now we've got them in a place that could potentially be their new home. Makes loads of sense for who they are, and they can use their abilities to help rebuild the place and help out and work there almost. So they have a home base now for the next, at least for the rest of the season. So I'm intrigued to see how that plays out, but I thought the episode was a fun episode. It's not the best episode of the season or anything like that, but I did really enjoy it. How about yourself, John?
Yeah, no, I really like this. I'd give it 3.5 Munoz out of 5. I think, you know, it's a really simple story here in terms of overall what happens. But I think it added an awful lot to the Bad Batch. You spent time with them, you know. Exactly. It really opened up, even though we know Sid probably shouldn't be trusted. You just, you know, when it was mentioned earlier in the season, you kind of like going, oh, well, is that a real piece of information or not? Here as well, by the end of the episode, because you're seeing how Phee is, you're kind of going, okay, yes, they needed to be wary of Sid, you know, and certainly because of that hologram. So it just adds to confirming what they've done. Exactly. You know, unless they listen to Fee's advice around, you know, you shouldn't just maybe drop her because otherwise she's an enemy and then you're going to be in real trouble. Yeah. But, you know, they're given a glimpse into another way that they can operate, not just through a CD bar doing half-baked missions that are maybe just because of one, like the Zillow Beast, because someone said there was a downed ship, there might be cargo on it. Fee's modus operandi seems to fit with the Bad Batches, really. She's doing stuff for other people, and they're given this glimpse here, and they see how their skills can be used in that setting. Exactly. And so I thought this was really, really good. I just hope Pabu does never get found by the Empire, and because of them being there. And I think that might be why Hunter is cautious here. But in a sense, I thought this was just a really good episode. And I mean, when it's not sort of the more overarching episodes or the darker episodes, like we said, now I think they've really nailed 3 really good, mission of the week episodes where it feels connected with the wider arc that is being told, but also just develops the Bad Batch. Exactly. So I've really enjoyed this. But again, I think it was only on the second watch. And again, when discussing it, that I would say that because it was kind of like, oh, okay, what's going on here? But it's quite uplifting, this one, for the Bad Batch.
Yeah, nice to see them all laugh. I think
exactly.
A bit more. We haven't seen that as much this season.
No.
Good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think let's get on to some of the thoughts for episode 12 and this week episode 13 from our fellow Batchers. Yes. First up on Facebook for episode 12, The Outpost, Dr. Bob Phillips says, okay, so maybe some would say the cold-blooded murder of an annoying manager shouldn't be celebrated, but it's a cracking start to the redemption arc of Cross. Or should that be fuming angry hair as he grows into goodness? Anyone else getting the Iceman cometh vibes?
Thanks so much, Dr. Bob. I think we all celebrated the cold-blooded murder of an annoying manager here in that last episode when Crosshair takes out the awful boss that he's just been assigned. I must admit, I've never seen the Iceman Cometh. I must check out the synopsis for that and find out whether there's a connection there with Crosshair's possible redemptive arc.
Yes, but let's hope it does continue his redemptive arc.
Yes.
You never know.
Exactly. Maybe he just really didn't like his boss.
Yeah, exactly.
Although we know where he is right now. He's potentially being turned back to the dark side again. So
yeah, and he definitely was fuming angry here as well.
He was. He was.
Excellent.
Good stuff, Dr. Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Bob.
Alan Morday also says on episode 12, loved this episode from the soundtrack. The dark synths that we heard in episode 3 are clearly back to the aliens quote, I feel safer already. Good to see Crosshair standing tall in this one. Looking forward to seeing where the show goes. Excellent. Thanks, Alan. I love that episode. Really, really, really good with Crosshair.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Great. Thanks, Alan. For this week's episode, Pabu, Alex Baelish says, it's so amazing how they are changing the narrative yet keeping on course with the storyline. Since the clones are being released from service, this is such a dark time for the world, for them and the other refugees of the war. Phee is right that Omega needs more people around her, but the Bad Batch is her family, and another loss like leaving her will be devastating. I hope the Bad Batch can make this work. Yep, me too, Alex. I think potentially Pabu is the place to be. Yeah. Tsunamis aside, of course. It looked fun.
Yes, yeah. Hopefully there won't be another one for another 30 years and they can all live peacefully with just the occasional tremor.
It almost felt when Phee said to Tech, wait, it's coming, and all the lights went on, it felt like being on holiday in the Mediterranean, by the sea with all the lights, everyone's sitting out, sort of eating, drinking of wine glasses. Not that I heard many of those, but, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It does make me want to go on holiday soon again, John.
Yeah, absolutely.
Episode, we've talked about it so much now that it feels I want to go on holidays. Good stuff. Thanks, Alex. Victor Von Doom says, nice episode. The opening scene reminds me of the Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom opening. The Batch found a soft landing, thanks to Phee, away from Sid, however. Sid's betrayal is imminent, though, as the Imperials are clued into Omega's existence. I was thinking they might join Rex and Echo when done with Sid. It was fortunate the Batch were visiting Pabu when the sea surge struck. The animation continues to impress. I like the scenes at sea. Looks like things will heat up next episode. Absolutely, totally agree with you, Victor. The animation on the show overall is some of the best animation on TV, but I particularly love these kind of episodes where they're animating things that you just don't see in Star Wars at all, Yeah. They've done that a couple of times this season already, but this is another beautiful planet that they're showing here. And as you say, John, you can almost feel the sun in your face like the Mediterranean.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really good.
Good stuff, Victor. I think you're right. Sid's betrayal is most definitely imminent. It was fairly chilling her hologram to them.
And all she has to do is put out in the grapevine that she knows where Omega is, and there's a very interested party out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Victor. Final piece of feedback for this week's episode is from Kathleen Andre, who says, animation was amazing. It makes me anxious that the mere presence on this otherwise relatively peaceful island will cause its inhabitants a world of pain. Next week will be a lot.
Oh yes, looking forward to next week, the penultimate episode before the big finale. So I know there's some really interesting stuff coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Our final bit of feedback for this week's episode.
I was going to do the breaking news klaxon there
yes,
for a second.
Breaking news. Dr. Bob Phillips for episode 13 says, Doom follows the Bad Batch like seagulls around a trawler. The poor Pabunids will be just over one disaster when another evil Sid, Empire, or another will sweep in. So far, Amiga has only managed single episode pals, excluding Gonki, so I don't hold out much hope. I'm guessing for Lyana. Yes, I know.
Bob.
That's dark. That's going deep into the darkness of the Empire there. But you are kind of right there. And I mean, if this is where they are for the final 3 episodes now, then, yes, either they're gonna fix up Pabu in short order, and use it as a base and fly off, and it's going to happen somewhere else. Otherwise, Pabu will be in a bit of a pickle.
It could be Pabu's last stand, yeah.
Well, yeah, indeed.
Potentially. I see that Dr. Bob also echoed Kathleen's thoughts that it only takes the Bad Batch to arrive there and suddenly awful things start happening to an entirely peaceful place. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Will they ever get any place to really rest?
But at least it was just a natural disaster.
Exactly. They can't stop everything. Good stuff. Thanks everybody so much for your thoughts. If you want to send in any feedback to us for any of the shows that we're covering, you can email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, or again, pop over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/tvpodcastindustries.
Yes. Remember, fellow batchers, you can support us over on patreon.com/tvpodcastindustries, or through buymeacoffee.com/tvpi. And of course, you can support us by sharing the podcast, subscribing, because of course, sharing the podcast is sharing the love. Of course it is. We'll be back next time to chat about Star Wars The Bad Batch, Season 2, Episode 14. Tipping Point, and that will be on the 22nd of March.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, looking forward to chatting about that one.
It is gonna tip, good or bad? I guess bad. Tipping points are always bad, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, they can be.
It's like climate disaster.
Someone can reach their tipping point and then pull themselves back.
Yeah, it's like climate disaster. Have we hit the tipping point, or will we pull ourselves back?
Well, let's hope we can do that in the real world. Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah. But that's not the only show we're covering. We've just finished our coverage of The Last of Us, the excellent adaptation of the video game on HBO. Really, really good. Yeah, 9 episodes of that show. It was excellent. Loved that. And we're also covering Star Trek with the final season of Star Trek Picard. 5 episodes into that show now. Coming up this week, at least on 5 episodes. So really enjoying that series.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
A nostalgic treat for us all.
Some good TV on at the moment. We're covering 3 of the good shows, that is for sure. So please come and join us, whether your fill is The Bad Batch, The Last of Us, or Star Trek Picard, or indeed all 3.
Exactly.
You're very welcome, fellow Batchers, Trekkers, and of course, survivors.
Thanks so much for joining us. Talk to you again next time.
Yeah, thank you so much, fellow Batchers, for joining us. Make sure you stay tuned to The Bad Batch and, of course, TV Podcast Industries. And, of course, we'll be back next week. But in the meantime, remember, keep watching, keep listening, and keep being bad.
Bye.
Bye.